All right, everyone, it's Corey back again for another week, another tip. This week, I wanted to transition into essentially living and moving pain-free and what that means to me. This is an important one for me because I'm actually living it on a daily basis. So a little backstory. Played football for West Point, had a surgery on each shoulder. So from those surgeries on, my shoulders have never been the same. It took years to get me to, normal. From there, go to the Army, kind of figure out I want to get into strength and conditioning, get a deeper understanding of the body. In the Army, I find I have a similar issue with my hip that I had in both of my shoulders. I tore the labrum, both my shoulders tore the labrum in my hip. Pretty painful, but I know that I don't want to go through surgery. And the reason for that is pretty simple. My shoulders were never the same. So, I make the decision I'm not going to go through surgery. And at this whole time, I'm learning about the body, getting certified, all that fun stuff. Ended up coming across, it's called functional range conditioning. And since then, it's been an absolute staple in my program. It prioritizes mobility, strength, and then just good quality movement. It was a big paradigm shift for me because I was always all right, let's squat 600. And then you get 600. And then it's like, okay, we got to squat 615. You just got to tick, 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 tick. But in reality, once you get to a certain level of strength, it doesn't really matter as much, especially in terms of like, okay, now I'm getting older. What's important to me? Like, okay, I need to be present for my family. I got to be able to, do athletic stuff with my son. Now I gotta demo stuff for my athletes here, and they're always pretty impressed. Like, oh, dang, coach, you got hops. But like, big thing is that I prioritize quality movement, not just necessarily strength. So what does that look like? Daily mobility, and I will link all this stuff below. So just controlled articular rotations, taking each joint through its full range of motion, whatever that joint has. So at the very least, we're not going to go backwards. So for my hip, it's not going to regress. We're going to, at the very least, stay the same. And then from there, you get into specifics. It's called PAILs and rails, or progressive angular isometric loading or regressive angular isometric loading. Essentially, you're just creating as much tension as you can, and then you're going to sink into a deeper stretch. So the idea being, if you don't have contractile units, your body is going to create them. So, daily cars, daily mobility, PAILs and rails, especially in the hip. If I can do that, I can keep my hip feeling good. And then we can use food as medicine too. So food, if you don't know, it can drive inflammation or it can cool inflammation. So what I found for myself, if I am eating like trash and I am not on top of my mobility, my hip sucks. It is constantly painful. I got torn labrum, so it likes to remind me. But if I stay on top of my mobility, I'm eating good foods, I'm taking care of my body, my hip's actually kind of okay. Am I going to need to get it taken care of down the line? Potentially. And then this goes into what's next. Like, is heavy squatting on the cards for me? Probably not. I'm probably not doing a ton of that. Maybe I'm doing a lot more RDLs, a lot more pulling, a lot more hinging, that type of stuff. Because again, I want to stay out of that hip and keep it not aggravated. I'm looking at what movements are best for me, not just movements I like to do. I love to squat. Like I said, I got a 600-pound squat. It's fun. I love to do it. That's not a brag. Like, I did it. Like, okay, sorry, don't mean to brag, but like it's fun. It's something I really like to do. But it's not good for me anymore. And I got a lot of data. I got force plates here. I've done movement screens, all that fun stuff, and everything tells me don't squat. And sometimes I get in my head. I got an ego too. Like, hey, let's squat today. Let's test it out. And sometimes it's okay, but sometimes I get a little ego, and then it ends up being worse. So as I approach what I'm doing with people, it's, hey, full range of motion. Talked about that last week. Always going to be full range of motion. But if things bother you, hey, let me know, because it shouldn't be painful. I got subs. I got plan Bs for my plan Bs. So it's making sure taking care of the body, mobility, movement, daily activity, staying active, keeping the blood flowing, mobility, stretching, keeping that hip healthy, using food as medicine, not aggravating it just because I want to eat crappy food. And it's good. And like, I do it sometimes. Of course I do. And then of course, supporting that with supplements when appropriate. So that's how I do it. That's what I like to help people do too. Like, hey, you're eating like crap and your joints hurt. That's because you're eating like crap and you're not taking care of your body. You're not doing mobility. And it's boring, not sexy stuff. And it kind of sucks sometimes. And I don't like doing it, but I know if I don't do it, I'm going to be worse off down the line. So as we look at longevity and training and moving and preparing to live long and healthy, pain-free, we got to do the boring, non-sexy stuff. And of course, we'll incorporate some of the more fun stuff in down the line. But it all starts with the basics: daily mobility, cars, tails, rails, 4 inches of motion in the right movements that are right for the individual versus just stuff that we like to do. I hope you're enjoying these videos. That's all for today, and I'll talk to you soon.